real old school laughs, you're in for a treat because we've got them right here. Flip City Magazine. Remember Mad Magazine? Then it went woke? Wow, don't worry. Flip City has no chance of going woke. That's right. 4 times a year, you'll get an actual printed magazine full of jokes, stories, comics, and more, all about today's pop culture, entertainment, and woke politics. Flip City takes terrible entertainment trends we love to hate with hilarious parodies of Lord of the Rings, Stranger Things, The Walking Dead, Star Trek, Hunters, and more. Trust me when I say there is nothing else like Flip City on the market. So subscribe today. It will be delivered in print, or you can even get it digitally if you're one of those wacky Zoomers. Either way, follow our link and sign up today, and if you put in midnight, you get an extra 10% off. Check out Flip City Magazine today. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Midnight's Edge in the morning. It is hump day. We have the boss man, Andre. How you doing?
I'm doing excellent, and I would like to congratulate everyone on Pride Month and the Star Wars Pride special that just was released. Yeah. Good times.
All right. And then we also have Paul Chato with us. How you doing?
That's fine. I'm good. You needed someone gay on your panel today.
Well, I think your shirt's doing that for you.
Yes, it's my other shirt. It's like every color in the rainbow.
Is that the shirt that Schwarzenegger wore in The Running Man? The one that no one would notice if you threw up on it?
I think it looks very similar, doesn't it?
Yeah, it kind of does. Cool, I like it.
I like it too. It's very summery.
Yeah, absolutely. And summer is coming even to Canada, isn't it?
Oh, we've had our summer. We've had a good chunk of summer.
Okay, how long was it?
Pardon me?
How long was it? Like I remember like summer in Norway like 2 years ago. I believe it was on a Tuesday.
Our summers are getting extended up here in Canada. They used to kind of start for real in July, but we had literally summer weather in May. So it's this global warming thing is changing stuff up here. So
yeah, it has some benefits, I should imagine.
Except for the bugs. The bugs come out earlier.
Yeah, well, that's part of nature, isn't it?
Well, we're trying to get a bat houses around our house because we love bats, and they eat a ton of mosquitoes.
Yeah, they're most helpful little critters, especially the mosquito eating kind, not necessarily the human blood sucking kind. There's very few of those, so we don't really have them in northern latitudes.
We do have these special Fauci vaccination bats from wet markets or something. I think I don't know what it is.
Yeah, and demonetized.
Done. We're sorry, you're gonna have to cut that out.
So yeah, and then we'll see who else will be coming over the course of the stream. And today, since it's we have the release of the Star Wars Pride special, obviously it's going to be a little bit dominated by that. There will be spoilers. You have been warned, but I have to say in this case, if you're worried about them, this is one of the times where, frankly, I don't care. But yeah, so that warning out of the way. But we also have a couple of super chats to get us started, don't we, Tom?
We do. Let's see here. We have Packing Protons, who sent in $5, says, "You'll like this one. Mark Hamill supposedly set to star in a movie about Jesus. Even as non-believing heathens know they chose the wrong person."
Yeah, but in which role?
Yeah, that's the question. And then we got Packing Protons that says, "Close your eyes. What do you see? Alien in mask. I can't put my eyelids down, Ralphie." That's from Honeymooners. And then we got Robert Montoya, who says, hats off to Chato. He said Disney would double down. He was right. Rip Star Wars. Yep. Robert Montoya also sends in $1.99 and says, look at the world today. We're in Roid Rage 2016. Kind of. Well, hopefully it's part of the final but I don't know if we're that lucky.
Well,
SFX.
let's see over what happens over the next year here. But yeah,
let's not jump the gun.
SFX F13 F314 Sabretooth Raptor sends in 5. Sorry. It says, went to a concert last weekend. One of the band members looked like Culture Casino. So yes, Culture Casino has a doppelganger. Great entertainment. I think he has a lot of them.
Did you see ZZ Top by any chance?
ZZ Top, yeah.
Or as we say in Canada, ZZ Top.
Yeah, right. And then we got Chipmunk of Vengeance here, who sends in 10 pounds. I like that name. Says, I'm actually hoping that if the Acolyte does end up destroying Star Wars, that it takes Kathleen Kennedy and Bob Iger with it, because it may, I think it means be the only way
it may
to revive
be
such
the
a great
only
franchise.
Way. Yeah,
that's what I said. I don't think the Acolyte is going to be strong enough to kill both of their careers. In fact, Andre, I think, is right that if anything, they set Leaslye Headlan up to take.
Indeed, they'll. I mean, she's down with the cost and everything, and they want to see her rescued. But if someone's gonna go, and the option is between Kathleen Kennedy in one end and Bob Iger in that end, and Leaslye Headland in the other, then they'll cut her away like deceased limb without a second thought. So yeah, no. If anyone is going to take any kind of fall for this, first and foremost, it's going to be the fans. Secondarily, it's going to be Leaslye Headland. And we have seen that before. Like, for instance, Rian Johnson. He's mostly a direct-to-video director now, isn't he? He made one of the biggest movies that was ever made, and his Netflix contract is a lucrative one. I'm not taking that away, but he's not getting many other big screen deals, is he? Same thing with Patty Jenkins, who did Wonder Woman, which was a massive, massive hit. And then she did Wonder Woman 1984, and she was so certain that this was going to be a massive thing. So she put herself in a position where she would get most of the praise for it, meaning there was no one else to blame when the thing imploded completely. And then it doesn't matter how many DEI points she had going for her. It kind of ended her career. And we don't really see her lined up to direct many other things. Like, for instance, the Cleopatra movie she was doing, gone. That Star Wars project, gone. And it's the same thing with Leaslye Headland. She may look super duper protected, but if this thing fails so badly that human sacrifice is needed, and sometimes, as I like to say, in the game of politics, whether actual politics or corporate, human sacrifice is needed, and it's going to be her. She's set up to take that fall. Kathleen Kennedy and Bob Iger, they will live to continue their reign of terror another day. I mean, Bob Iger, he was like given some kind of like honorary knighthood only earlier today or yesterday. So yeah, they're not going anywhere. No matter how badly this flops, which it's going to.
Yeah. And then we've got, let's see here. Where were we? Kathleen Morrison, who's been a member for 16 months. Thank you for that. Hyperguyver2 says, says with $5, I don't know what scissoring sounds like, but I bet it sounds like an armpit farting contest. Also, fuck the echo shit.
Well, keep watching and maybe you'll find out.
I've been calling it the activist. That's what Scribelight called it. I thought that was pretty funny.
Well, it totally is.
And then Pilgrim Media sends me a happy belated birthday to Bat Tom. Thank you.
Awesome.
Appreciate it. And Dr. Longdongler sends us in £1.99 to remind you to hit that thumbs up and share out the link. Let everybody know that we are live worldwide. That's right. So I didn't watch Star Wars because it is not something I want to do. I'm not into torture, not a masochist. But it sounds like you guys did.
I did. I saw both episodes, but I will admit I increased the playback speed by 50% as I did so, to protect myself and be able to do or protect my mental sanity, which I value, and to be able to get it done before the stream. And I know that Paul, you maybe haven't watched as much as me, but I know that you saw at least one episode.
So I saw episode 1, haven't seen episode 2, primarily because I'm doing a green light or not, treating it as if it's a pilot for a series. So I look at everything from my time as head of TV comedy, and I try to apply the rules of series drama or comedy to something as if it was going on the schedule back in the early 90s. And so it's not just a question of whether the show was good or not, but did it follow the rules of a series? And the bottom line for that is no. I mean, it's really just a giant orange sliced up into small pieces. It's not a series for TV in any way, shape, or form. And in that regard, streaming has been problematic in that regard, that they've forgotten what a successful television show, the components of a successful television show. In this particular case, they really didn't care. So yes, this feels much more like a movie chopped up into bits. So, you'll have to watch my green light or not, but I'm giving you a big hint that, one of the criteria when you look at a pilot is that, can you see enough plotting material for 5 years? And in this case, no. I mean, you've got a woman who's going around killing Jedi. I mean, do you have enough Jedi to kill for 5 years? You don't. So it's a stupid idea for a series. It could be a short run, which what it is right now is 8 episodes. But I would imagine Disney's plan would be to have it go on longer. But unless May gives up on killing Jedi and turns the corner and becomes a good person, which I would predict is going to happen because that's what seems to happen to all of Disney's female antagonists. It's
Especially if they're lesbian.
Well, there is that. So in no way is this a series. It's just a short run movie cut up in tiny 30-minute segments. I will give Leaslye credit that I think she directed the first one for sure, and she wrote the first one. She's a far better director than what's his name from Ahsoka.
I just got the
can't remember the
like the one we are led to believe is the new George Lucas,
and he's a terrible director. He is a wretchedly bad
Dave
director.
Filoni.
But Leaslye Headlan is actually a competent director. Like I would trust her to do a TV series, because you got to blast those out. Of course, she had all the time in the world to do these, and these were unbelievably expensive. Whether she could be a legitimate television director where you have to crank out an entire 1-hour show in 1 week, that's a different skill, but she's not an incompetent director. So I'm going to give some positive feedback from that perspective. But it's a silly show.
So basically, your positive feedback is not completely incompetent. That's what I'm
correct.
Hearing. Yeah,
correct. And the fact that, again, it's not a network, it's not a series show, is that you've got the antagonist as the hero. Dexter, you could say Dexter had that, but then again, you were kind of rooting for him killing those people because those people were really bad. They needed to die. In this show, I'm assuming that she's killing off decent Jedi that didn't deserve to die, and we don't know. So that's a mystery box. I don't like mystery box shows. In a proper, let's say, CSI procedural, she might have been part of a psychopathic mass murderer arc where you got to know the main characters. And that's one of the problems with the show, is that one of the rules of series television is that you've got a home base and you have your lead character, you've got their cohorts, and you spend time on their relationship first. Then you introduce the pathogen, as we call it. And, I don't know whether your watchers think I'm a dinosaur or not, but at the very end of every single procedural show, a show returns to equilibrium. It resets itself. So then next week, it starts at the beginning again. And the reason people love network shows on streaming channels is because it's comfort food. It's basically the same premise over and over again, with a little twist. And then you see the main characters have fun or get involved. And that's really what you're watching. You're bringing a friend into your living room on TV. May, the character May, is not a friend. She's actually weirdly not that great as an assassin. Also, she took down Carrie Ann Moss, which I think is an offense to humanity. If you're going to try to get any kind of sympathy towards what May is doing, then don't put her up against Carrie Ann Moss. Put her up against a really bad Jedi. Like, prove the point that the Jedi need to be killed. Why kill a master Jedi who?
I think we'll probably get that point in episode 8 or so. They just have to do like all of the subversion, so we all learn that the Jedi are really evil and corrupt, and they have to go.
Well, I haven't seen that so far.
Yeah, but anyway, just to
so there you go. There's my quick summary.
Well, excellent. Thanks for that summary. And I'm going to give some spoilers here, because I'm going to give basically the very, very rough summary of what happens in this series. Because we begin with Amandla Stenberg's character, who seeks out the Jedi played by Carrie Ann Moss to kill her. Just for what we don't know why, she just wants to kill her, and they've obviously met before. And then she kills her. So that's the end of Carrie Ann Moss's arc. Maybe she has some flashbacks or something like that in later episode. But she is killed off inside of the first 3 minutes of this. So that's one thing. And but of course, there's a ton of witnesses, because she's killed off in a very public
So
place.
she didn't even make it to the end of the first episode, huh?
Oh, no.
She didn't even make it to the opening credits.
That's funny. I don't really care.
Yeah. But then, of course, there's an investigation, and all of the other diverse Jedis in Kudos, they of course learn of this, and they send a small crack team of diverse Jedi to apprehend the killer. And in a case of mistaken identity, they then get the twin. Because there's like the thing, Amandla Stenberg, she plays 2 roles. She plays 2 siblings. One that was thought to be dead, and what that is known to be alive, and that used to be a Jedi Padawan, but that flushed out. And
and that was just
completed training.
Plot bullshit. Oh no, I thought she was dead, and it's just terrible. Now, one thing I want to just interrupt you.
Yeah, go for it.
One, and I kind of blame George Lucas for this, but I thought it was silly crazy that they've turned the Jedi into replicant hunters they've turned them into like a military. It's just so
you mean this has to be like the current day military, which is all about DEI, and where you can't be if you resist a certain procedure. Have you seen the recruitment videos for the modern day military forces? That's kind of military, yes.
They've got spaceships that they can now commandeer and go investigate stuff. And then now they're this paramilitary group. And like I said, I kind of blame George, because in The New Hope, you kind of got the idea in the first 3 movies, at least, that the Jedi were this kind of disparately spread, weird force religious order. And if you needed to learn something, then you had to go into the jungle and learn at a monastery in some kind of Indonesian kind of place. And then George kind of blew it up in The Phantom Menace, where suddenly they were living in a penthouse and they all behaved more like condo owners at a meeting, and with really good furniture and nicely ironed outfits. And so he turned them into this quasi organization that I didn't like at all. I hated that actually in the Phantom Menace. I wanted them to remain as more of a Malaysian style religious order but now they've turned them into the replicant hunters from Blade Runner, which I went
only diverse,
only more diverse, yes,
and gay.
Well, we don't know if the one female-ish one with the giant ears.
Okay, I think everyone we saw on screen was gay.
Anyways, please continue.
You gotta admit they looked that way.
Yeah,
with the risk of sounding, but you could totally tell that they're showrunners and everything like that. That pride was a big thing in this. I'm sure they listened to music from Eurovision and everything. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I'm not just criticizing, I'm just like saying that, as was pointed out in an interview that we have behind the scenes here, this is the gayest Star Wars, and it's the gayest thing I have seen since Bros.
I didn't quite get that. Again, my main problem was that
that's not my problem with it, but that's just like an observation that you're really going for it here, aren't you?
Yeah, so suddenly they're replicant hunters. I don't like that about the Jedi. The Jedi, they're not the police.
Yeah, well, they are here though. So the replicant hunters, they then go for the twin sister that they know is alive, who they suspect of having killed Carrie-Anne Moss.
Because she looks exactly the same.
Yeah, they look exactly the same.
Didn't even change the hair.
Yeah. So he went to the same hairdresser and everything, which is very, very impressive, gotta say.
Yes, it's because one didn't even know. Neither of them knew the other still existed.
Yes, this is very important. These are not because we are led to believe, and maybe they'll do something here, but we are led to believe that one sister, the evil sister, burned down the family house and killed the parents, both mothers in the household and all the friends and stuff like that, 15 years ago or something like that. And she was assumed to have perished in the fire herself. And then the good sister, she was the one that was rescued by the Jedi. But as far as everyone knows, the bad sister, she died in the fire. But then she turns out that she's alive and well. And she seems to be of the opinion that the good sister, that she was the one that died. They're both surprised to see each other alive. And they both went
to the same stylist.
Yes.
So they stole the plot from Ghostbusters Frozen Empire?
No.
That one chick, she burns down her whole family and house and everything.
Yeah, okay, yeah, but she died.
So she's still part of the bad guy, even though she's dead because she's a ghost. I mean, just saying.
Not quite, but
not close. The first thing that comes to mind, but yeah, okay, I see where you're going with it. Yeah.
I won't argue.
Yeah, I won't argue with it either. But
look, I got nothing else to add to this conversation.
Yeah, but either way, so they are shocked to find out she's alive, and that was also really, really stupid. I agree with Paul on that. It was completely, totally stupid. And then they know that they are dealing with a long dead evil twin, previously assumed to be dead evil twin, but we're literally dealing with an evil twin here.
A massively stupid part.
Yeah.
You know what?
Do share.
When OSHA puts out a fire in space.
Yeah. OSHA, by the way, is the good twin.
OSHA, yes. She puts out in the vacuum of space, the oxygen-free vacuum of space. She puts out a fire.
So OSHA stops a work-related accident from happening. Gotcha.
And I'm not going to say it has anything to do with the fact that Leaslye Headlan crowed about the fact that this was like an all-female production crew that might not know sweet fuck all about physics or science or space.
No, that's a granted thing that they don't.
I'm not saying it's due to the fact that they were mostly women. I'm not saying that.
At least a few people got my OSHA joke.
Yeah. Here, I'm going to stand up for all of the women in the crowd, because men can be freaking incompetent when it comes to space too. Case in point, Star Trek Discovery by Alex Kurtzman, where in season 2, you had these beacons that showed up hundreds or thousands of light years apart from each other, and they all showed up at exactly the same time. Funny how that works.
Well,
so
Ray
yeah, it would
Johnson,
appear that Leaslye Headlan and Alex Kurtzman both went to the same school about how space works, and they flunked.
and same with Rain Johnson, who invented space bombs that dropped like
at very slow light speed, I might add.
Yes. So I think there's a certain creative gene that stops you from understanding physics.
Well, I think the same gene also prevents you from being creative, because none of these people are what I would call creative. I mean, maybe these people shouldn't have been creators in the first place, because none of them have the knack for it, based on what we can see here. Alex Kurtzman doesn't have the knack for it.
Oh,
yeah, he's awful. And I will admit, I have never seen anything that Leaslye Headlan has done before. I haven't seen Russian Doll. I'm not going to see it either. I hear all this praise, but I hear the praise from, I'm not going to say everyone, but many places where I see the praise is from outlets I have learned not to trust. So I want to hear that it's amazing from someone I know. Thank you very much, before I invest any kind of time in that. But so I've now seen 2 episodes of The Acolyte, and based on that, I'm very confident.
I've recorded my video, so you're more than welcome to tell me what happens in episode 2, because I'm not going to change my.
Okay, yeah, fine. We're getting to it. In episode 2, she goes and she kills another Jedi, and this is the first white man we see in the series.
Okay.
There was a comment that I wanted to highlight here, because actually I did a count for shits and giggles. Phil Fedora says, I tried to watch the first episode, but it was so cringe and oozing with DEI, I had to stop after 15 minutes. And yeah, you're not wrong, because I tried to do like a mental count, like just for fun. I'm going to try to count and see how many white males I see in the series. And I did not see one in the entire first episode. Now, I tuned out a few times, and I saw it on fast forward, so maybe I missed something, but I didn't register a single white male in the entirety of the first episode, not even as a background extra. In the second episode, here we actually do see 2 white males, who I also think are busy celebrating Pride this month. But one of them is a Jedi, and the other is basically the guy assisting this Jedi, because this is a Jedi who has undertaken a vow of silence, because he, one way or the other, just like Carrie-Anne Moss, is involved with this fire or the rescue of these 2 twins, both played by the lead actress.
Oh, that's the connection.
Yeah, because we learn that there's 4 Jedi that she wants to kill, and this one, who has done the vow of silence, he is the second of the 4. And we know whatever had happened, he feels horrible about it, because the way that she kills him after trying to go up and attack him, he just like force blocks her, so there's nothing she can do. But she's able to procure some poison, and she just puts it in front of him and says, you know who I am, and you know what you did, or something to that end. Here, drink this. It will absolve you from your sins. And so he does. And that's how he dies.
That's exciting.
tremendously. But on the good side, this is how everyone comes to learn that, okay, fine, the dead evil twin is definitely alive, because this was done while the good twin was under Jedi custody, and they're right there. So this is when they see each other for the first time. And of course, it's not very heartfelt reunion. They're just such, like, first they're both amazed that the other is alive, and they both like are able to say, "I thought you were dead," and the other's like, "No, I thought you were dead." And then they shoot at each other, and the evil one takes off and goes back to her master, who presumably is a Sith. And from what I understand, and this is something that really doesn't sit well with me, because this is 100 years before Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. But still, it would appear that the Jedi at this time have no idea what the Sith is, that this is a new invention, and that the master of this evil twin may be the first Sith, or maybe she's going to be the first Sith. And I was I'm not the master of Star Wars lore or anything like that, but I was almost positive that the Sith is something that went back thousands upon thousands of years, and there used to be massive big clashes with the Sith, and that this rule of two had been going on for at least a few millennia, and they were even thought to have been dead for or to be gone for several hundreds of years before they suddenly remerged. Like, maybe I'm wrong, but that was my understanding. Whereas here, we appear to see the birth of the Sith 100 years before Episode 1. Now, Tom, you don't have to have seen the episode for this, but I know that you know your Star Wars lore better than me. Haven't the Sith been along for like an awful lot longer than 100 years prior to Episode 1?
You're asking me, I'm not paying attention.
No, but this is like Star Wars lore. It's nothing to do with this series.
Yeah, I think so. Like because they even say in the prequels, it's been like X amount of years since the Sith have been around. So they clearly knew.
Curtis Shaw, he says right here in the Phantom Menace,
1,000 years,
or
whatever it was,
in 1,000 years. But
so
they
that
were
would
aware
establish
of them.
that they were aware of them, and that they obviously had fought them and dealt with them over 1,000 years ago.
Maybe they meant dog years.
Maybe. Anyway,
and I mean, some fans would make. I mean, that is the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life. I mean, look, I've barely been paying attention to you guys because to me this is Star Wars, and if I do pay attention, it's going to be like me listening to somebody go on and on about how they fucked one of my exes. Right? Like that's how it feels. And I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to hear about the crap that you did with my ex. Okay, good. Good for you. Like, it's just going to make me pissed. Because I used to care about Star Wars, but I had to divorce myself from it. I think I've told you this before.
Yeah.
It's
we
that
all
whole, and at this point, this is so far away from anything I could give a shit about. Right? Like I'm not one of those who says that everything has to be surrounded with Luke and Darth. And you can tell other stories in the Star Wars universe, but like this is a joke. Like have we really gotten to this point? Because the next thing you know, they're going to tell us that the Force is lesbian, right? Like this. I listened to you guys talk for a few minutes, and I had to just tune out because seriously, I thought my brain was just going to shut down from stupidity. Like this shit is just so dumb. Like everything I keep hearing about it gets dumber and dumber and dumber. Because now we know in the third episode coming up, there's supposed to be some big revelation about the Force. And I guess it's that the Force isn't really the Force or some shit like that. I don't even know what the fuck it was. Somebody said something and I'm like, oh, whatever. It was bad enough when it was midichlorians, now this. So, like I could deal with midichlorians, but...
Oh, I think we'll all long back to the good old days of midichlorians. I think we're going to be like, oh, please just be midichlorians by the end of it.
Yeah. Should we tell me what? Do I want to know?
Well, that the Force is female or that the Force is lesbian? Because the latter one, that's just a speculation on my end, but I would not be surprised if they go there.
Well, so from a series perspective, though, if she's only killing 4 people, then then the rest of it is them hunting her down? Like, I don't understand the premise of this show.
Well, yeah, right now that's the setup. It's a crack team of diverse Jedi and the good twin hunting down the bad twin, and they still don't know. Well, they also ponder the question: who has trained the bad twin in the ways of the Force? Because this shouldn't be possible, because they have control over all the Jedi, and she was able to kill now 2 Jedi and counting.
Well,
So what's up with that? That's
and-
kind of like who's the master here?
And when did Jedi become Kung Fu masters?
As soon as Kathleen Kennedy saw Satoichi.
Because in the fight with Carrie, I'm going, what's with all the Kung Fu? Like, really?
Because they wanted to rip off the Matrix. And this is where I feel sad for Carrie Ann Moss, because Chicky Poo can't get above the Matrix. Like, she was literally brought into this to play a character just like she was in the Matrix. And this is not me seeing the show. I'm going off of her interview. She literally said this, that they wanted her to pay homage to her own character in the Matrix.
Really?
Yes.
That's terrible.
I hadn't contemplated that, but you are, of course, right.
This is in an interview she said, and I'm like, how sad is that your life has been predicated by one movie now, where you can't even get into another franchise without someone saying, you know that thing you did in the other franchise? Do that. I get what you're saying. Sometimes it works for certain people, but to me, it reminds me of the Say the Line from The Simpsons episode.
She was in another series she was very good at. Ironically, played a lesbian in it, a lawyer.
And I don't know what it is. So that tells you
exactly. No, it's a Marvel series. You're talking about when she was like in the Netflix Marvel shared universe, where she was a recurringly lesbian lawyer there.
And nobody cared. That's my point.
No, it was in Daredevil, and it was in Iron Fist.
Oh yeah. I thought she was very good. She was very good.
She is good. But Tom's point is that in pretty much everything else, even here, Star Wars, which is definitely the most high-profile thing she has done since those Netflix things.
Sure,
he is there to do an homage to the Matrix and then to be killed off.
Well, that's just childish.
You're right. Yeah.
I mean, it'd be one thing to ask. Yes. You know, like Lawrence Fishburne has a very illustrious career. It'd be one thing to ask him to come in and do a Morpheus-style role, right? But when you're like, it'd be like asking Pee Wee Herman to come in and keep playing Pee Wee Herman. It's like, no, I did this to try and do something else as Paul Rubens, as an actor. And they're like, no, we just want you to do the Pee Wee Herman shtick.
Sure. But I mean,
like, that's kind of what it feels like to me. That's my point. But anyway.
He didn't even appear in the 4th Matrix for that particular reason.
Well, that was the studio's choice, I guess, actually, because they were trying to recast all the characters with younger versions.
He didn't want to be Morpheus in it. Give him credit.
I heard he never got asked.
I heard he had maybe. Anyway, doesn't matter. It's no big deal.
Nothing to save that movie anyway.
So does episode 2 answer any of the questions?
Oh no, it's just more mystery boxes. The only thing that
I hate that.
Okay, no, nothing is answered. You are only like, you are given that she's not randomly looking to kill all Jedi. She's looking for 4 specific.
That I didn't get. I am predicting. Yeah. I'm going to make one prediction, and that is Osha will get a chance to kill her sister, and she'll turn away.
Probably.
I'm predicting that she'll get a chance to end it all, but she won't. Just like Carrie Ann Moss had a chance to run her through with the lightsaber, which we now know does not work on women.
No, this is true. So it would have been a waste of her time, because women are immune to being run through by lightsabers. Right. That only works against men.
It only works against men. That's right. Yeah. We now know that from Ahsoka.
Yeah, it's funny that. So yeah, no, really, we didn't get any more answers. We only got a few more mystery boxes, because this is made in the J.J. Abrams style of making a TV series.
Yeah, it looks
mystery box upon mystery box. That's what this is. And the people who are praising this, I see talking about, wow, finally something different in Star Wars. How about something Star Wars in Star Wars? That would be a nice change.
Exactly.
And finally, a mystery. We have seen other things in Star Wars, but we haven't seen a mystery for. It's just mystery box upon mystery box, and we really don't need it. And I think we'd be better off without it. And yeah, I don't see. I mean, this is not the kind of stuff that I would keep on watching were it not for the fact that I had to for you guys. So yeah. We'll keep watching, not looking forward to
I
it.
wasn't going to, except one of my subscribers paid me $10 to watch it.
Yeah, but you have no other choice, do you?
No, I'm going to honor that payment.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, well, let's see what you guys are saying in the chat here, because we have got quite a few more super chats. So let's get back into them. Lester San Jose, the Skeptic Tank, has been a member for 18 months, and we're glad to have you. Daryl the Dedelict says for $5, "Hail, gentlemen, I'm finally represented in Star Wars with an obese Jedi or a fat one. I'm sure he likes sausage-flavored Force." You know, I forgot to mention that, but yes, we also have another victory for inclusion and celebration and equity. We have an obese Jedi here who is also a person of color and probably gay, although we don't know that for sure. But he's definitely body positive. So yes, that's inclusion all the way. This truly is Star Wars for everyone, except of course for Star Wars fans. It's not for you, but it's for everyone else who probably wouldn't be watching to begin with.
I did like Lee Jung Jae. I thought he was great. I did enjoy his performance. I'm assuming he's going to be one of the Jedi that gets killed. Don't tell me.
He is one of the 4.
So obviously he's going to have to get killed. I thought he was really good in the first episode. The other person that surprised me was that guy Bennett, who did the stupid shit in the interview, but perhaps I think apart from Lee, was the most charismatic character in the show.
Oh, you mean the head of the crack team of Jedi Blade Runners?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that he was actually quite charismatic on screen.
It doesn't seem like much of a Jedi master, though. I will give.
Well, we'll have to see him in action. It'll be sad to see Lee die, though. I mean, he's great. He's really good in it.
Yeah, he deserves so much better than this. He deserves so much better because he's the only good thing. But I have to say, I object to the way that he's written, in a sense. Kind of like written like a fortune cookie in a way. That's like, yeah. And then briefly onto something else completely. Midnight Sun wonders, is AVP, that's Alien versus Predator, canon with the Alien and Predator franchises? Yes and no. Alien versus Predator is soft canon with Predator, and it's not at all canon with Alien. So if you wonder, okay, here you have all of the Alien movies, you have the Alien versus Predator, and then you have the Predator movies, and you wonder, where do I place these Alien versus Predator? Where do I collect them? Where they make the most sense? You place those things in with the Predator collection, because that's where they fit. Whereas the Alien movies, they stay on their own, unsoiled by any Predator, because they do, yeah. Canon is shared one way, but not the other. And then the Red Dawn Batman wonders for $5 Canadian. What are the chances of Dave Filoni going down for the failure of the Acolyte? Now, I know the answer to this, but Mr. Chato, as a network executive, do you think that any blame is going to go to Filoni at all over this?
Well, I mean, the one of the weird aspects of the business is that if you've got some failure, not a ton, but if you've got some failure under your belt, then people have more confidence that you won't do it again, because you now have the experience that you didn't have before that others don't have. But I mean, what's Filoni's relationship with the Acolyte? I didn't see him in the credits.
His relationship is pretty much none other that he on paper is the head of all things Star Wars, so he has like that symbolic thing.
I think this is 100% a Kennedy Headlan project.
Absolutely, it is.
This is an all estrogen product.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to say that if more human sacrifice is needed after Leaslye Headland has already been sacrificed, then he's the one that's going to go. Because everyone is going to go before Kathleen Kennedy does, and certainly Bob Iger. But I think that he's relatively insulated as long as Leaslye Headland is there.
Well, I don't think Ahsoka is coming up. It doesn't sound like it's going to be renewed.
Nor should it be.
So, what else is he working on then? Like the next Mandalorian?
Yeah, he's working on not the next Mandalorian. He's working on like the Thrawn thing, the continuation.
Not the Rey movie?
Yeah, Filoni, the stuff that's going to end all of the Mandoverse. That's what he's working on. That will also tie back to this with the Witches of Dathomir, who are also all female and use some other all female force or something like that. Like there's something there. And maybe there's going to be a tie back, call back, something between these two things that go with the force is female and magic is female. I'm sure there's going to be something there, that there's some kind of tie-in to bind them together. But beyond that, at least as far as we know, Filoni hasn't had anything to do with the Acolyte.
And it's funny, I think you've said it, and I'm actually saying that in my upcoming video, is that the most refreshing thing that Disney could do is actually make a male-centric project.
Are you sure he doesn't, though? I mean, he's all over the press tour and shit.
Who?
Filoni. Because he is the head of Star Wars creative now. So
yeah, that's what we were saying. But I think if someone's head is going to roll, I think Leaslye Headland's head is going to roll first.
Well, she's not even technically an employee, so there's nothing to fire.
No, this is true. It's just
and that's what I was saying before. Yeah. It was interesting about this whole, and this is what Script Doctor was saying too, about the move they made with Filoni. So I wonder, I mean, if this ship fails, he might take the blame for this. I mean, that or it might be a combination of the few, who knows? But I mean, they definitely aren't going to let her take the blame, Kathleen Kennedy, that's for sure. And Leslie's kind of safe. I mean, unless they do more of this show, then she's what are they going to do to her? Not hire her back? Like, I mean, you know what I mean? Like at this point,
that's the most they can do.
Yeah, that's all I mean. So like, I just the failure of the Acolyte will either fall on Filoni's lap or nobody's lap. I think at the end of the day, it's another failed experiment for Star Wars, and I just I'm not going to be surprised when we find out this has lower ratings than whatever the last lower rated thing was, Andor or whatever. So I mean, maybe the first few episodes have some of the, you know, I'll take that back. I take that back. I think the first few episodes will do a little bit better than Andor simply because of people want to see what this is all about or see how bad it really is. The train wreck factor.
You know what? I think this is something that would have fared better if they actually had dropped all 8 episodes at once. But instead, they're not doing that.
Yeah.
Like instead,
But we said the same thing about Andor. Down. Sorry.
Yeah, and I think that's true there as well, because this is now 2 months for people to forget and just stop caring. If they had dropped everything right now, many probably would have been curious and suffered through it. But who's going to wait and watch one episode a week for weeks and weeks on end? I think that this thing here, this is going to suffer. This is going to be like another thing like the Rings of Power, where just 30% of those who saw the first episode are going to finish all the way through the final episode of the series.
I don't foresee too many people going past the third or fourth episode of this. Because most of these shows, and that's the other thing too, is it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation with the releasing it week by week. Releasing a show week by week only works as if it's a hit.
Exactly.
Right? Like, and that's where I think Cobra Kai and some of those shows are doing themselves a disservice. And at least this time they're splitting it up, but that's more so to do with the strikes than it had to do with the why they would actually separate the two last season or whatever. With that being said, I mean, I'm getting to the point where I can't believe that they have, and I know it's a little off topic, but it still is relevant to it, why these streaming services have gone away from the pilot model. I mean, why aren't they using some of these things like backdoor pilots? Shouldn't these be just like basically made for TV or streaming movies? And then if it's successful, then you spin off a series off of it? Like, and Script Doctor and I were talking about this, and Paul, I don't know if you're back yet, but I know you may have talked about this a little bit with Script Doctor too, because they have done away with the pilots. Like, there's no pilots anymore. They just go straight to series with everything. And there was even a whole article about it where they were talking about the networks and the streamers where they don't even bother with a pilot season anymore. They just go straight into the shows. And if they work, they work. They don't, they don't. And I think we're going to be in this era where we have tons of these shows that get like one small season and then get lost into obscurity. And a lot of these shows, I think they would have fared better, especially the Marvel shows, not just Star Wars. Had they tried it with just like a made for TV movie that had no real consequence on anything else. And if it turned out to be popular, then you spin it off into a series. Like, that's the way they used to do these things. So to me, I'm seeing that they spent as much as they would on one or two movies on one streaming show that's going to fail. But anyway, Paul, you're going to say.
Believe it or not, their thinking is that by greenlighting the pilot and the series immediately, they're actually going to save money because the pilot process is expensive. And in their weird, twisted logic, they've decided that by not having to go through the piloting process, they're going to save some money. But the evidence is that they're not. The other thing that the networks used to do was something called a wheel. So a wheel was, let's say, mostly for drama, where they would pick a day, and then every single week it would be one of 3 different shows. So $6 Million Man became a regular show by being part of a wheel. Columbo was part of a wheel. So you would see a Columbo show along with the what's the guy, the cop that rode around in New York on a horse. I can't remember the name of the show. It was a really good show. So they had MacLeod.
That's it, yeah.
MacLeod. So that became a series just on the strength of the wheel, their efforts. So people loved it. It was like a great way to test the premise of a show. So it wasn't just a one-off 1 hour. The $6 Million Man was every third episode was the $6 Million Man. And it was hugely popular. People loved it. And then it became.
Yeah, we were just talking about this. I remember because the Shaft show came from that. Yeah. I believe Columbo came from that.
Although they screwed they shafted Shaft.
They screwed it up.
Discussion.
Yeah, but no, that was actually a pretty cool thing, because that's funny I remember us talking about that, because I remember seeing a deal about that, and I didn't even know about that until I saw the video about it. I thought that was a great idea, because that's what they used to do all the time. The backdoor pilot films made for TV movies. And that's what I'm getting at is, okay, I get it. The pilots have to evolve to adapt to what we're doing. But that's what I'm saying is, why not spend only $40, $50, $60 million on a pilot movie and see how it does, instead of spending $200 million or $280 million on an entire streaming series, and it shit the bed, basically.
I think the main reason is that the entire series is only 6 to 8, maybe 10 episodes. So they might as well greenlight the whole thing. In network TV, while you might get a pilot that the network can take a look at before they judge whether to greenlight further episodes, generally speaking, they would greenlight 10 to 13 episodes of a series all at once. They could literally shoot 8 to 10 of them before they kill them off after the first 3. So there would be still 5 to 7 shows that they might play off later on or hand over to another cable system to play off. So, yeah, I mean, the minimum orders were usually 10 to 13 once a pilot was approved. So in that sense, it's kind of the same, but for sure, I think, but because they have no interest in any given season from going beyond 8 shows, there's almost no point in going for the pilot, because the pilot concept was also, we're trying to see whether it's not just this first year that's going to work, but whether this is going to have the legs for the next 5 years. That's how you view a show.
Right.
You don't view it as just, oh, can we survive the year? No. Does this have a premise to last 5 years?
Well, and the other thing is too, I guess, and you made this
about that.
Yeah, and you kind of made this point already, is that, they want to kind of amortize the cost of this entire thing throughout the entire series, which, yeah, if you're making a Star Wars or a Marvel series, I can see that because they're expensive.
Right.
But, I mean, there's just a lot of these shows I don't even understand anymore, but that's getting us far away from the mothership here. But thank you, Red Dawn Batman, for that, even though we got far away from the subject. Michael Nemo sends in 2 and says, did you see the $45 million in those first 2 episodes? Exactly. Right. Like right there is what I'm saying. Those, that's basically like a made for TV pilot movie. You got right there. You add in the commercials, it's 90 minutes. So $45 million. Did you guys see it on screen?
No.
No.
Yeah. Cause somebody did the math, and I think it's like $2,500 a second they're spending on the show.
Like that. Yeah. Well, of course, you can't forget about the overhead and everything. Like, not all of that is literally on screen. But on screen, I mean, if you had told me that the entire series, all 8 episodes, had cost $45 million, I would have believed you.
Yeah. I think a lot of it also had to do with reshoots and rejigging. I think they did a ton of reshooting on this. I mean, some people said the show
Possibly.
looked. I think the show looked okay. I think it was fine. I mean, you had the cantina scene, and you had all the people dressed, with alien makeup and stuff like that. But for sure. I mean, I think they should have been able to do this series for $2 million an episode.
Absolutely. I mean, $45 million for the entire series. I mean, that would be plenty. But
that's
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's completely ridiculous. And it's overspending, because no, that money is not on screen. And we know that they have like this Mando tech where they film in front of this, like, not screen. What's it called again? Like this.
The volume.
Volume.
Yeah, and that thing is supposed to make everything cheaper. So why the hell isn't it cheaper?
This is the question, right? And this boils over to a lot of these sci-fi shows like Star Trek Discovery and some of the other stuff that they're doing. It's like, what in the world are you doing this for? Like, why are you spending the kind of, because they're spending it somewhere, right? Whether it's going into the 27 producers' pockets, or to grease this wheel, or to pay for this, because Lord knows they didn't spend that much money on Carrie-Anne Moss, right? And bless her, I was sticking up for her earlier. I feel bad for her. But I'll be the first one to say that she ain't getting no $10 million payday for this show. Just ain't happening, especially if she's only in it 30 seconds. So where is the money going? That's the good question. Well, we all know that the big part of it is, and Andre and I have pointed this out before, and I'm sure television is very similar. I'm not kidding when I say half of it goes into the producer's pockets. It's called the cost of doing business. And it's whether it's a licensing fee, or this fee, or that fee, they fee everything to the fucking point where at least half of the money goes right back into the pockets of the people who are making the shit. right? And as far as a movie goes, when they're doing this, they take a loan out for the movie. So they keep half the money. They make sure to take care of themselves up front. Then they make the movie on the other half. And then if they make money back, then they pay that back to the investors. If they don't, then they're like, it's a gamble. It's a crapshoot, and they're not out a dime. Unfortunately, it is kind of like a way of money laundering, but it's technically legal in so many ways. That's the problem. Now, I did a very simplified explanation of it, but yeah.
I'm saying they're incompetent. That's it. Done.
There's that too.
They are very competent, just not in making Star Wars.
Well, and then you got look at, okay, a normal show or movie had what? 2, maybe 3 producers tops back in the day. And you get a few executive producer credits to those people who just get a name in there for whatever fucking stupid thing that they had to do with it, right? Because they made a phone call, But at the end of the day, it was really 1 or 2 main producers working on a project, and you only had one. The line producer was actually doing all the work, right? And now you look at the opening credits of Star Trek Discovery, and I shit you not, we counted one time. There was 27 producers listed on that fucking show. 27. Like what? There's more people that produce the show than are actually in the show, because there's not even 27 cast members. This is where we're at. And I bet you I haven't seen the Acolyte, but I bet you the producer list is just as thick.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, at least we know for sure Kathleen Kennedy, Dave Filoni are right at the top of that list, but yeah, 27. I think that was the count. I think it varied by episode, but yeah. So you guys didn't see the money in the episodes, and I'm not surprised. Moose.
It was okay. I mean,
there were 2 million there on screen, but not 45.
I mean,
see, that's my point. Yeah.
I didn't see any egregious 3D mistakes.
Okay, that's 4.5 Godzilla -1 movies that they spent on those 2 episodes.
Yep.
And I watched Godzilla -1 again. Oh my God, is that movie amazing?
It's on Netflix. I want to see that again.
Yeah. And I want a different English dub. I want a goofy English dub.
Oh, we can't have everything.
I haven't checked. Is the Netflix one dubbed?
Yeah, they have an English dub, and it's actually pretty good. You're like, this is too good.
Wow.
Because I wanted the old school, because that's just how I grew up on them. Them in Kung Fu movies. I love the wacky dubs. But anyway, Moose says with $5, or MOOSE, as he has it spaced out here, lesbian space witches create space Jesus through immaculate conception. Seriously, fuck Disney. Maybe that's how Anakin was born. I don't know. Sean Connor has been here for 32 months and says Leslie's middle name is Never Gives. Oh, I'm sure if you're the right gender, she does. Then again, she does feel like she's a butch or a top. So yeah, you're probably right. Bucky Cat sends in 5 and says, notice one character name is OSHA, i.e. Operational Safety and Health Administration. Thank you, Bucky Cat. That was my joke. So I said OSHA saved them from a work-related accident. Oh, nobody on the panel got it.
That. Oh my Lord.
I know. I was disappointed in you, Paul.
Oh my God. Where's my meme of the thing flying over my head?
I know. I was like, so you're saying that OSHA stopped a work-related accident and you didn't, it was just like,
I didn't get it.
Crickets.
No, that's the kind of joke that script doctor would inflict on me when we're writing. And I go, okay.
He would have laughed. If he was here, he would have laughed for me.
Because he would have gotten it. I didn't get it.
Is she spelt the same way too? Is it OSHA? OSHA, yeah.
OSHA.
Yeah.
OSHA.
Yeah, trust me, I had to deal with that shit when I worked in factories all the time. OSHA this, OSHA that, OSHA. Yeah, everything's inspected. And don't fuck around with OSHA. ActionCom sends in $5 and says, Chato, are you thinking of the Jedi as being the monks in the Kung Fu show? wandering the universe where the Force takes them and
Well,
offering help.
I would have preferred
That would have been a
that.
fun show.
I would have preferred that. Like I said, George killed it when they stuck everybody into this one nice penthouse together and turned them into
Yeah.
the League of Furious Jedi. It de-romanticized them. I didn't like that at all. That
Well,
was
you know what else it does, Paul? It
horrific.
it takes away the mystery, and like it
Yes,
doesn't make any sense as to why people would even question whether or not the Jedi existed or not, right? Because you even have Anakin who acts like he's never seen a Jedi before and heard of a Jedi before, or like there's some myth or mystery, and it's like, no, they got a big ass temple on Coruscant. Like, they're practically like space police. Like, what world would Anakin act like that? Not only that, by the time we get to A New Hope, which is only 20, not even 20 years since the last film, everybody acts like the Jedi are completely a dirty word. Which that I can understand to a little bit more because through propaganda and stuff, it was easier to probably do that. But even Anakin at that age, even if he is living on the Outer Rim, I have a hard time believing, the way he reacts to Qui-Gon is all like, the way it was. It was just like,
well,
okay,
I mean, Qui-Gon and Ewan, they became space dicks.
yeah.
I went, wow, okay.
Well,
And
you kind of got that, yeah.
I didn't like that. I went, okay, that stopped being enjoyable for me, except the fact that their adversary was pretty good. But
No, I agree with you. They should have been more like wandering kung fu monks.
yeah,
And then get in, that would add that mystery. Like, do they exist? Do they not exist? No one really knows where the temple is.
right.
Like,
And exactly right. Exactly right. That's exactly how they should have kept.
and that's what makes it kind of cool that Princess Leia and her dad have a connection with them because she's one of the people that would know that they exist or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that would have.
I agree with you.
The first 3 movies, it would have at least made it feel an extension of what was started.
Yeah, because Yoda, it definitely played into Yoda being that kind of a guy too, because especially when he fucks with Luke at first, which is my favorite part. It is very much a Mr. Miyagi kind of thing that he does with him.
Well, and the amount of time it takes to train gives you way more interesting plot elements as opposed to, let's say, Rey turning into Insta Jedi in in her first movie, which I went, what? Like, that was so obviously bad when I was watching it in the theater. Really, this is what you get. It's like suddenly, I know what JJ was going for. He was going for the "yeah, babe, go get him, you go, girl" kind of moment, but it completely ruined this whole notion of just what you had to put yourself through to become a Jedi.
Yeah, I kind of like the notion of how Luke goes to see Yoda after being told by Obi-Wan. It almost reminds me of that scene in Kill Bill where Bill drops off B at the monastery there or whatever with Pai Mei. It's like Yoda being the Pai Mei kind of character, and I just love that. That is usually one of my more favorite bits when we have these hero journey stories, and that's especially why I gravitate towards like kung fu type stories and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, why not keep them in the realm of that entire Chinese
mysticism and
mysticism? I mean, it was always kind of martial arts adjacent, so just leave it that way.
Yeah, they were like samurai. They were like space samurai.
Yeah, as opposed to turning them into corporate monks.
Yeah, that's what they felt like. Exactly. Like very political. They're like right into politics and shit. It's like, no.
Can we have a vote on this? Okay, pizza. We're going for pizza. Qui-Gon, you always bugger off on the anchovies, but you always want anchovies. I mean, it was horrible.
Anchovies make me.
I think that was one of the worst things that Lucas did in the Phantom Menace.
I agree. But anyway, so Action Com, thank you for that. And I think we agree it should be more like a kung fu kind of show. That would be interesting to see. STR Red Wolf sends it $5 in and says, so the Acolyte is a waste of 4 hours worth of disk space at 4K resolution, something even YouTube would have difficulty justifying carrying.
Wow.
Well, I kind of posited that's part of the reason they killed a lot of those shows. Is because they needed the space. I'm not kidding.
That's funny.
This shit ain't cheap. Storage ain't cheap. And if you're spending more on the storage than enough people to watch it, then you just get rid of it. So, I mean, I'm probably wrong, but I thought that was funny. Jason Rogers sends in 5 and says, did anyone catch the fires in space OSHA had to put out a complete with smoke?
Yeah.
They are in space. Yeah. I saw the memes on it. It was hilarious. And I didn't even watch the show.
Yeah, I mentioned it in my review. Like, really? Seriously? What?
In their defense, though, Star Wars is fantasy where the rules of physics never really applied. But
yeah, but they've taken it a bit too far.
They are.
Yeah, they have taken it a bit too far with the last few things.
Well, I would argue, and this is the verisimilitude argument that Robert Meyer Burnett makes, is that there are certain things that we already know, and so don't fuck with those things. It takes us completely out of it. It's not that too dissimilar to applying modern day isms like having a future robot expound on their pronouns. So, okay, maybe they might do that in the future, but now you've completely taken me out of this future story by inflicting some modern day bullshit in it. Don't do that. And in the case of physics, and I don't know whether anyone cared about the bombs in Rian Johnson's Star Wars.
Oh yeah, we made fun of them.
Yeah, and don't do that.
It's one thing to get away with the blowing up of the Death Star. Like, look, we all know that's not how it would actually happen, but it doesn't matter. That's kind of like the Jaws, Steven Spielberg, Peter Benchley argument, right? Like, yes, the audience knows that, and most of the audience is aware that that's not what is going to happen, but they don't fucking care. They want to see the son of a bitch blow up.
And we would never hear spaceships flying in space.
No. So, but they sound so good in 5.1 surround sound.
No, I get it. So there's a balancing act in this, but don't fuck with physics so badly that it makes what you're doing ridiculous. In fact, you should do the opposite. You should be so fixated on the science of the existing science that it would enhance the believability of what you're doing. That's really what you want to do.
And that's kind of where Lucas differed Star Trek from Star Wars, right? Was you had all these things in the universe that made things go and made things work. But in Lucas's universe, he didn't stop to explain it to you.
Oh, no.
Right? That's the whole difference between Star Trek and, like, Star Trek, as you know, and I'm just telling you things you already know, but this is more for the audience. But, like, you being a gear porn guy, that's what they do. They get into the science of why this works this way. Star Wars, the perfect example of that is the lightsaber, right? Like, what's the number one question a kid always has about a lightsaber? How does it know when to stop?
How does it know when to stop?
Yeah. Like, I mean, and that's a perfect example of how sci-fi works in the Star Wars universe. There's something there that makes that work. It doesn't fucking matter how it works. It just does. And that's why Lucas wanted it cluttered with used junky things. And he didn't want this pristine, 2001 type sci-fi thing, because he wanted everything to feel like everything's there for a reason. We're not going to explain it to you, but it does do something, right? So whatever it is, okay, fine. Same thing with, like, the idea of, an explosion in space. Okay, cool. Spaceships making noise. Fine. We can get past that. That's like, that doesn't break the verisimilitude to the point where little things like space horses on a fucking ships, on top of a ship in space, and Rise of Palpatine, for instance, when they're riding, like, into Gondor. It's like, what the fuck is this? Like, that is where you're taking it to the extreme. And I mean, I can deal with a little bit of fire in space, but when you're dropping bombs in zero gravity, that's where people started going, okay, that doesn't make any fucking sense.
There's explosions in space, not fire.
Exactly.
So you kind of forgive them for that, but
gravity hooves.
So one of the things that so Star Trek tried to predict the future. The brilliance of Star Wars was it was a a story in the past, a long time, a long time ago, far away, right? And so that's why he's got all these manual switches and things, and everything is very tactile. In a proper Star Trek world, everything would be like the spaceship would literally be an iPhone. Like there'd be nothing to touch. You'd be speaking to Siri or whatever the equivalent would be, and nothing else. If it was really truly going to be, sci-fi that far in the future, Star Wars, got away with it in kind of a Dune way, that things were allowed to be tactile. But that doesn't mean there wasn't gear porn. So, for instance, George filled it full of his imaginary things that, as you said, did not require explanation to work. But for instance, the pod races were literally out of American Graffiti.
Right. Well,
So
and another term that he kind
they
of
were
coined
cars.
that
They were cars. They were literally hot rods in space. This is George's gear porn. This is the shit you don't see in any of Disney Star Wars. They're
Right.
not interested in that stuff.
Well, and another term that he coined that I love was it may not be scientifically accurate, but it's artistically accurate. Right? Like, so in the Star Wars universe, it has a design, it has a flow to it.
Of
And
course.
you're specifically right. Like it had, and that's what he was saying in his interview, and he said it a few times, and I know exactly what he means when he's like, they didn't bring anything new to the table, they just wanted to make a retro film. Right? And that's what he's saying is, at least with the prequels, love them or hate them, and I know there's a lot of people in the audience that do love them, and I'm not gonna blame you for that, but because the one thing he did do with each and every one of those movies is bring something new to the table, just like he did with the other films, regardless of whether we liked it or not.
World
It was
building.
through, not just the world building, but there's some new technology, right?
Those
And
are the
that's what
two
he was
things
getting at.
he did in every single movie. In every single one of his movies, he brought us a new world, at least one, and new technology, like what slow walkers or
Well, not just
ACAT.
that, but how he made the films as well. I mean, on all levels, on each layer, like you said, new toys to play with, new worlds to explore. But not only that, to get to those new toys and worlds to explore, he had to create some new technology, right? And that's where ILM was on the cusp of that. But yeah,
and we were as excited to see in the VHS or DVD extra content, at VHS at the time. We were absolutely rabid about seeing the extras, the extra content about how they made the movie. To us, it was almost as important as the movie itself.
Well, that's why I got
more
into
important
DVD
than the
and
movie itself.
yeah, that's why I got into DVD so hardcore, because I was like, finally, I loved commentaries, I loved the making of stuff. But no, like, and because I could see George now. I mean, he's looking at this. I'm sure he's thinking, huh? So the newest thing they brought is volume. So they just brought back rear projection, the one thing I tried to get away from in the first goddamn place. Because for those who don't know, there's an entire version of Star Wars with a bunch of rear projection effects that George Lucas trashed.
Yeah, because
he fucking hated them.
The volume is pretty good. The volume is pretty good, but I mean, it has its problems.
It's the same concept, though, right?
No, but
you can see him dream when he's making the prequels.
It is far better.
Yeah, but true, and I'm sure he would admit that. But I don't think the volume is something he would have gotten behind, because George was in this place where he would see it as you would be in a completely 3D environment in real time, and not anything behind you, not any, you'd be on basically a green screen, because you could see him talking about it during the making of Phantom Menace. He's like, in about 10, 15 years from now, all this stuff will be done in real time. I won't even need artists, and I'll be able to look at the screen and I'll be able to see where everything is, and stuff like that.
But I guarantee you he would have tried the volume.
Oh, he might have, but I don't think he would have liked it.
I don't think he would have liked it. He's a tech nerd.
He is, but I think he would have seen that as a step back.
Well,
otherwise, I think he would have praised it.
He invented, ILM invented the nonlinear editing system. He did two of them. One was called RoboEdit, which I used, and also Avid. Those are two of his inventions.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's
man's a genius.
Ton of stuff. And that's what I'm saying, is like, he moved the technology along. And like I said, he would probably give them a point for that, but I think he would also point out that it's a step backwards. That's my whole point. But anyway,
I'm not entirely certain, but that we can leave that.
Yeah. But anyway, Let's keep moving here. We got some more super chats. Michael Nemo says with $2, should we show the cost so much with so many women? Should the show cost so much with so many women? Well, I mean, makeup costs money.
But the one
don't
thing that's
understand.
not on the below the line cost is the shoe budget.
Well, you have to remember, like, it's very, very important with equal pay and stuff, and here they have to really make up for all of the men that have gotten really high salaries before. Even the scales a little bit.
Well, and I hate to say it, this is also something that happens when you insist on making everybody paid the same amount. Because this is where I see this argument come from. Well, oh, you know, there's a disparagement between, or what is the word I'm looking for? Between
discrepancy. You're
discrepancy.
looking for the
Thank you.
discrepancy.
Yeah, between male and female payments in Hollywood. I was like, nah. I think Hollywood's been one of those places where as long as you're above the line and it just matters of the negotiating you do with your agent and if you're the star or not, right? Like, and this is what we were talking about when Kristen Dunst was going off about the whole deal with Spider-Man, right? And it's like, yeah, she's not doing all the same work that Tobey Maguire is doing. And then she tried to pretend that her career at that time was bigger than his. And I'm like, I don't know about that.
I think it was.
No, we went through it and they were
Okay.
pretty much on point. I mean, they both had, you know, some Oscar buzz around them. He had like 2 or 3 decent films. Like she had more of what you would call the commercial films. Yes.
Bring It On.
Bring It On. But that was still like her biggest hit since the vampire movie, basically.
Yeah, probably. And there was the
so
Nixon
that was my point.
One.
Yeah, but even some of his, Toby's smaller films were doing really well, like the Cider House Rules, and the one he did with was it Michael Douglas? I think was it. I'm trying to think of the name of it, but anyway. So I mean, he had a few movies there that even though they were more indie type projects, he was getting himself pretty well known, and I mean, it was either him or Jake Gyllenhaal at that time, so could have went either way. But at the point I was making is like, yeah, you know, not everybody's Sylvester Stallone. Sylvester Stallone, of course, is going to make more than his female co-star, unless his female co-star is Sigourney Weaver, and she's technically the star, right? Like, I mean, that's why in Ghostbusters, she's actually third billed above half the other Ghostbusters.
Oh, she was a major star that they managed to attract to the show.
Yeah, that was a big get for them.
That was a huge get.
Because Sigourney wasn't a comedian at that time. She was only known for Alien and her dramatic stuff. Like, yeah, so that was a big deal. So, and again, you know, it also matters of your stature, because I just watched the Bad Boys movies this week to prep for the new film here coming up. And I reminded myself again, oh yeah, Martin Lawrence was the one who got top billing on the first Bad Boys because Will Smith wasn't a movie star yet.
Hey, you know what? Speaking of Sigourney, we were talking about actors that could not overcome their franchise success. I would suggest to you that Sigourney was able to traverse the acting realm very successfully.
Oh yeah, she's had a very eclectic and I would say successful career.
Oh, I would say. I mean,
she's weathered some bombs, but yeah.
Oh yeah, but I mean, she was able to go back into Alien or Terminator. Oh no, Alien, and then still be able to do Dave, and Ghostbusters, and Avatar. I mean, she is someone that did not get hit with the Daisy Ridley disease.
I would argue that Daisy Ridley didn't even get hit with the disease she claims she did.
Yeah, maybe. I think you're right.
Because she's out there going, I haven't gotten any work since Star Wars. It's like, honey, the whole world's locked down. Nobody's working.
Although
and then you look at her filmography and she's worked on more movies than half of her co-stars.
Daisy.
Yeah, she's done more projects than John Boyega has.
Well, that's because China doesn't want John Boyega.
Adam Driver and Oscar Isaac are the only other two out of that group that have had a career, but they had a career before it.
Yep.
So that's where I don't see. To me, they're like the Alec Guinness and the whatever group of the group, you know, like because they already had a career. And then people forget that out of Star Wars, Harrison Ford was the only one who got a career out of that. Mark Hamill did a couple of movies and then went into voice acting. Carrie, of course, famously went into writing. I mean, yes, she had a little bit more prolific acting career, but I mean, she was never an A-list star, right? I mean, her biggest films are what, like The Burbs? And I mean, she was in things like the Blues Brothers and stuff like that, but she never had any huge hits. I mean, I'm trying to think. I can't think of another big movie with Carrie Fisher in it where she's
Well,
even
you think
close.
about that. Let's
Let's
move
keep
on
moving.
here.
We've got Ryan, who sends in 10 euros, says I was planning to watch The Acolyte today, but with all this talk, now I'm scared. Well, watch it for yourself and decide, or try an episode. I might still try an episode or two, but I doubt it. Drake Timbershaft sends in 10 and says, Midnight's Edge sonar in space is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Leaslye Headlan, hold my machete. Macchiato.
Hold my
What is
macchiato, yeah.
Macchiato, okay.
Yeah.
Sets fire in space.
Caramel coffee.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Alan Octavian Moldovan sends in, that's 10.
Yeah, that
I know
was
this.
the
Romanian Lev. Yep.
Yes.
Chris Gore confirmed the Force is female in episode 3. Sorry, Tom. Oh, no.
Yeah.
I thought it had something to do more with, like, it wasn't really the Force or something like that. But anyway, Marksman 117B sends in a $1.99, says the Force is lesbian. Who's going to tell? Who's going to tell him? Yeah, I heard. Yeah.
That it's lesbian, that's just my theory, but I wouldn't be surprised when you just look at how gay everything is here. I mean, there's even an interview where basically the interview was talking about how this is the gayest Star Wars. That's why I put that in the show title for today.
We're not making this shit up.
We're not making it up. It's out there.
Yeah. Michael Nemo says Acolyte will be cliched treatise.
Will be a cliched treatise on female duality and trauma and the justification for violence and redemption of the bad female, a la Kylo.
Okay, so
I wasn't aware that Kylo was a bad female, but
you learn a new word today.
But anyway, it's that kind of redemption. Yeah, it could very well be. I've seen a number of theories. Like, we can't really assess what it's about for a few more episodes. I mean, I've even read someone to claim that the series, that the whole point here is that the Jedi are representative of white toxic hit male centric society. That's why they need to be taken down for diversity, equity, inclusion and stuff. But we don't know that that's accurate. Like, no one can really say that before we have seen a few more episodes. We need more before we can talk about subtext and what any of this is really all about.
Well, there's no subtext in this.
No, so far it's just mystery box after mystery box. Ain't no subtext to speak about yet. It's going to take more before we can say anything about it. Like, we've seen 1/8 of the running time, and that's not enough to talk about subtext and themes. Not in a mystery box driven thing like this.
Yeah. Well, let's keep moving on here. Thank you again, Michael. We appreciate the support here at the channel.
Thank you.
And we got Jason, speaking of supporters, a huge supporter, sending in $5 Australian dues. Says Leaslye Headlan knows nothing of Star Wars. She's Star Wars illiterate. Boy, did it show with the Acolyte. Oh,
well, everyone working with that is Star Wars illiterate.
Well,
and the people that aren't, the people in the building who aren't illiterate, they don't understand it either. They just have the wrong, flawed understanding of it.
Well, and some critics were saying the first 2 episodes weren't that bad, or were actually somewhat.
Yeah, that's a really, really stunning.
Stretching it, but
review. It's not that bad. Like, whenever you hear some people say it's not that bad, well, it's also not that good then.
Right, but my point is I'm not going to go as far as say Leaslye is not a Star Wars fan, because in her interviews I did hear some things that I kind of made me go, okay, so maybe she was, but she's still willing to sell her soul out for whatever, because she said, she's had a Princess Leia tattoo for years, and she grew up on the Star Wars. She loves all the Star Wars. We heard her say that. We made fun of her for it. But I was kind of saying like, maybe this is another Bo DeMaio situation, but she played ball. Because the story goes, and this is per herself in an interview where she said she turned in the script and Kathy said, well, this is a great Star Wars story. Now make it a great you story. And And that's when all the sister bullshit and all the personal shit got involved. So that to me sounds like they took what might have been an interesting idea and destroyed it with personal bullshit. You know, kind of basically a definition of woke.
Yeah, this is the whole point of like these estranged sisters that thought the other was dead and so haven't spoken with each other. Because I haven't read enough details about what's going on with Leaslye's personal life, but here there's some big self-insert here, because apparently she has a sister, and those two sisters, and Leaslye and her sister, they aren't speaking. Now, we don't know why or anything, but my thinking is that when she's the one putting it into a TV series, it's probably Leslie's fault.
Well, yeah, because she's trying to justify and say that she's right, because that's another thing she said in the interview. Was like something along, and I'm paraphrasing here, but something along the lines of, I just get to put my argument into a Star Wars story because I'm right, or something like that. Like basically insinuating that she's in the right. You know, of course. Even though, like, wrong. Even though she said she hadn't talked to her sister in years or whatever.
Oh, that whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something really sinister going on there.
This is like one of the worst self-inserts I've ever
Really?
seen, I have to say. Oh, yeah,
Terrible.
for sure. Absolutely. I mean, when you have someone who says, okay, I have like this thing going on with a sibling right now. I don't speak with them. And since this is my show and it's my life and everything, I'm going to put that conflict right in here. I mean, there's some kind of self-inserts which are fine and kind of work. I'm not sure this is one of them.
Yeah. Well, even then, that's was my point, is like, it sounded like it could have been something interested until they told her to put more of herself into it. And Michelle even confirmed that she didn't like it either.
But the hubris to, how do I say this? You've got this multi-million-dollar project, and you're treating it as if it's your canvas, that you can do anything that you want, that you don't have responsibility to anybody else except for the crayon scratches that you put on, you know, your sheet of paper to satisfy yourself. Like, there's money involved, people. This thing's got to be successful. This is.
Well, she don't care. She's Leaslye Headland.
But I don't understand it.
Don't you know?
Well, and I'm not against inserting yourself or inserting your experiences or your feelings, your emotions into certain. I mean, that's what makes art, right? I mean, look, George Lucas is. There's a reason why Luke Skywalker's named Luke. He is George Lucas, right? Like, I mean, that is him. That is he was a wide-eyed kid with a big dream who felt like he was stuck in this place he couldn't get out of. And the adventure that he went on was George's experience going to Hollywood and doing this dream that he didn't realize at first, because he wanted to be a race car driver until he got in a horrible accident. And that scared the shit out of him. And this was something that he gravitated towards instead. So, like, he did put his own self-experiences into Star Wars. And I mean, one could even argue that he eventually became Darth Vader, right? Like, I mean, there's certain aspects to even the prequels and stuff that you could argue. I've said it before. I think he's working out a lot of shit with his ex-wife in the prequels. It seems so obvious there. So, I mean, I'm not saying you can't do that, but there's just ways you can do it. And making Luke this farm boy instead of a kid from Modesto is a big, huge difference right there, right? Like, because Luke was never a farm boy, but that was the typical, oh, the farm boy's going to go on an adventure kind of thing. He took that trope and put his experiences, feelings, and desires and dreams into that trope, right? But George also understood those tropes, and he studied Campbell and other things. You say Joseph Campbell to any of these kids nowadays, I doubt even Leaslye Headland knows who the fuck he is, and she's not even young. See, that's the other thing, is I can believe that she probably does have some talent, and the same thing with the guy who works on Doctor Who. But for years, these people were kept in check, and they actually were made to actually do their jobs and be creative without having to worry about their own personal fucking baggage, right? Like, because that's where the personal baggage thing comes in, is where they're creating all this nonsensical shit. And to me, that's where the prequels are less than the originals, because George did come to the prequels with a lot of personal baggage, especially Star Wars involved personal baggage, right? because he didn't really want to be there. He didn't really want to do this. This is not what he wanted to do. So he, in a way, like I said, it mirrors him. But in this case, it's not their thing. They are so far removed from this thing. Why the fuck are you self-inserting your thing into Star Wars? You should be there telling stories about fucking droids and Jedis and gangster worms and crap like that on a faraway galaxy, not inserting your fucking agenda and pronouns and other bullshit, especially in a universe where sex has been pretty much non-existent, except for the fact that we know people had to fuck for Luke and Leia to exist. Like, that's about it, right? Like, that's all we know in this universe of sex. And yeah, there's a little bit of flirtation between Han and Leia, right? But that doesn't even go beyond your typical Saturday morning cartoon flirtation. So, like, this idea of bringing sex to the table is one of the biggest problems, because I don't think sex belongs in the Star Wars universe. It has never been something that's been all that explored in it. So why are you bringing all this lesbian shit into it, and non-binary, and the Force is female and lesbian shit? Like, why? You're just doing it to piss off the core audience, and then so you can turn around and call them bigots.
Send the signal. I'm not saying that's a good excuse, but that's what they're doing.
Oh, they've already signified it. But like, if you don't like this, then you're a bigot. It's like, okay, then I'm a fucking bigot, I guess. Because at this point, I'm not getting into this. I don't care what they say. Nothing they say is gonna. You're especially not going to goat me into seeing something by trying to guilt me into it.
Yeah, no, that's not the winning strategy. Never has been.
And especially not going to like it if you do that, or if you try to force me into it. And I mean, you've learned that through certain things too, is like, it's like, what's the point? If I'm not going to like it, nobody's going to listen to us anyway if we like something. So dealing with that all the time on Twitter. You guys hate everything. Twitter? Yeah, exactly. X, I mean, sorry. But anyway, moving on. Well, we got this one already, I think. Did we get to? No, we didn't get this one from Jason Webster. I'd rather watch Pigs in Space than watch any more of the Acolyte. Me too. I wish they'd finish putting the Muppet Show out on disc. Ashton Francis sends in 2 and says, I need a fat diabetic with a high blood pressure. Yeah.
Well, we did have a fat Jedi in this one. Maybe he has diabetes and maybe he has high blood pressure. So again, a win.
Well, what good are midi-chlorians if they can't cure you diabetes? Fuck, crying out loud. If they're in my blood, fix it.
Well, they do have Ozempic.
Hey, I'm taking that.
Well, that's the future there.
Yeah, did you finally get to watch that South Park episode?
No, I haven't seen it yet. I've been just busy doing shit.
But anyway, yeah, the fat Jedi makes about as much sense as a wheelchair on a spaceship in Star Trek. MOOSE sends in 2 and says, Fumu, F up, move up. Yeah. Well, Leaslye, I mean, she was fine in her own little, doing her own type of things, kind of like Fleabag. Those two remind me a lot of each other in that respect. Like, in what universe did you think that all of a sudden these guys would be good for these action sci-fi franchises? But, yeah. Because they want to bring their message to the table, that's all. Pilgrim Media.
A little bit more to do with it, probably. Yeah.
Pilgrim Media sends in 2 and says, we want a Fadawan with arteries of cookie dough. Yeah, I'll play the part. Thunderstorm is here and sends in $4.99 and says, what chance is Jar Jar Binks the Sith Lord? Well, I don't know if they'll go with it for real, but I guess they did that in a Lego game. So yeah, you got that much at least. Chaos Sonic 1 sends in 5 and says, the Dark Horse comics tried to fit Prometheus into Alien vs. Predator. While it's iffy, I appreciate the gesture, even if it's non-canon to Alien.
I wish that the movie division over at Disney, they could just take a look at those Dark Horse comics, because they're so much better than the movies, especially the Alien vs. Predator ones, which are just a joke in the movies. But the Dark Horse ones are pretty darn fantastic.
There's only 2 Alien movies and like 2.5 Predator movies. So
yes. But
So-
if you were to include the comics, if they had been based on those, could have been a hell of a lot more.
and I just say half because that Predators one in space is pretty much a remake of the first film, and half of it's interesting and half of it just goes off the rails.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree with that.
Yeah, and then there was the last one that everybody forgot about that Shane Black made.
It was very forgettable.
It was. Destiny Captain sends in $1.99, says Fox nor Disney has disincluded AVP officially. You know, honestly, Destiny, I wish they would basically wipe out everything but the first two Aliens, but that's just me. Because I'm just one of those people where the Alien franchise is just like a lot of these other franchises. When you get to a point where there's more shit than there's good stuff anymore, it's like, yeah, no, they were good as one or two movies, and that's about it. Terminator is another one of those, I guess you could put in there. Jason Webster sends in another 5 Australian, says, to anyone who watched The Acolyte, I hope your eyes have recovered. To other fans of Star Wars, my condolences as the franchise is now truly dead. Well, this was more like flogging of a dead horse, I think, at this point. I think it's already dead. It's dead, Jim. It flatlined a long time ago. Neon Knight sends in 5 and says, where do these motherfucking ugly women like Headlan and Fleabag come from? They must be incredibly good at slobbing. Well, I don't know about that. Most of it is like Leaslye, it's people you know, right? Because she came in during Harvey's heyday. So I'm sure she knows a lot of important people. And she knows a lot of things about important people. Fleabag, well, she was the flavor of the month. And for the most part, I mean, I credit, you know, people who have been on the panel with us and other shows and stuff that have said her writing on her stuff is fine. It's when you bring her on to Bond and Indiana Jones and the Star Wars that it's a problem, basically. Yeah. Anyway, Olaf says with a 35 month member chat, 1 month away from 3 years. Thank you for that, Olaf. From my perspective, it's another movie cut in 8 pieces, Obi-Wan Kenobi. So people will be subbed for 2 months to watch it. After the first 2, it will burn. Yeah, but at this point, are they really bringing in any new eyeballs? Or, you know, I don't know. And then Olaf says with €2, Godzilla -1 on Netflix on yesterday is better than the Acolyte. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Can't recommend that movie enough. If you have not seen it yet, what you have no excuse now. I think Toho was stupid to do it this way. But yeah.
Oh, I got a feeling they got a phone call from Netflix and said,
Oh, they got a fat fucking check from Netflix, but I doubt it's that exclusive because it's on VOD at the same time.
Yeah, but you know what? Netflix is so huge, they don't care what other people do with their properties.
No, I know, but I've had a lot of people since I, do the physical media stuff. I've had a lot of people freaking out on me going, "Oh, now that Netflix has this, it's not going to come out on physical media." I said, "No, if it wasn't on video on demand at the same time, I think you might have a point, but I don't think this is an exclusive Netflix deal. I think by Christmas Toho would be stupid not to have a DVD and Blu-ray 4K out of Godzilla -1 in the US. I was thinking July and August, somewhere in there anyway, but since it took them so long to do this, I'm pushing more for like November. Like I bet by Black Friday they'll have a 4K Steelbook box set thingy out for it here. I bet. Because that's another reason I heard it was taking so long, is they were trying to get the English dub done.
Ah, that would explain it.
Because they didn't have it done for theaters, but they wanted it for the home video. And streaming services, a lot of them require the foreign films have both.
And a lot of work was put, like the dub, like it's dubbed, so I obviously didn't see it, but I flicked through it just to see the level.
Yeah,
and
it's not bad.
This is a dub that they put some genuine work into to make it good.
I mean, yes, clearly it doesn't have the same emotion. I wouldn't recommend, especially the first time watching it that way. But yeah, no, that's the main reason, is they wanted it. And they do that also for the Blu-ray and DVD and stuff like that. So, and that way, I'm sure that way Walmart will carry it too, because I bet you Walmart probably wouldn't carry it if it was just a foreign film. But we'll see. I don't think it'll be too much longer and it'll be out on disc. They'd be silly not to. It took a long time for Shin Godzilla to come out on disc. I reminded people. So Ben Dowdy has been a member for 16 months. With all the money they're spending on these movies and shows, they could feed all the starving countries. Yeah, tell that to these fuckers who tell that to us all the time, right? And who go out there and say,
funny with different standards. Like that's something that is exclusively used by typically people of the left against people that they do not like Elon Musk and stuff like that. Like they are the people that need to give up everything, but of course they're not required to do the same. That's a standard that goes one way only. So that's
Elon Musk has so much money that he could give everybody in the world $1 billion and still have like $10 billion left over.
Yeah.
Did you hear that, idiot?
Yeah, I heard that.
Well, I don't
That's
remember
not how
that
math
particular
works.
idiot, but there's so many of them. But that's not how economy works.
Well, no, I think he could afford to give everybody like $1. I think somebody actually did the math. It was like $1 and some change or something like that. It's like, yeah, you dumbass. Anyway, Ben Dowdy has been a member for 16 months. Thank you for that. We appreciate the support. And we're supposed to be doing a member stream this week. We promise.
That is the plan.
Pablo Papano, maybe tomorrow. What do you think?
I think we're looking at Sunday more likely.
All right, Sunday, I guess. Even though I'm not going to be around Sunday, that's a bad day for me.
Oh, okay. Well, then we'll see. But tomorrow is a bad day for me.
I say Saturday might be better. I could squeeze it in maybe, but I don't know.
We'll see what we can do with that.
Pablo Papano, it's a work program for those woke holes. They're pilfering Star Wars like the government with Social Security. Well, yeah, there's that. It's a propaganda arm. Yeah, they're using it basically like cigarettes and alcohol at this point. Dr. Jones sends in $1.99, says Osho is based on Osho, the love guru. Oh, okay. I don't know who Osho, the love guru is, but I see. John Doe has been a member for 5 months. We don't know who he is, though. Star Wars dual savior thing. The gospel, according to Thomas. Thomas means twins. And there was a tradition of Jesus being a twin. Very Gnostic of them. Ooh, maybe. Ruby Hoove gifted a membership. Thank you for that. And then Warachi has been a member for 26 months. Says instead of one central Jedi temple, you could have several ones with competing styles and philosophical differences in Jedi rivalries.
Perfect.
I know, right?
Total anime.
Yeah.
Actually, and that's one of the funny things about Star Wars is how, even though they're in this universe far away, the different planets are shockingly homogeneous to each other. Like, I mean, there's just so many things that I would change with what Disney has done just to make it feel more alien.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, and then ActionCom asks Andre if you've seen the 70s show Kung Fu.
I am familiar with it, so I know what it is. And I remember flashes of it because I remember my dad used to see an episode or 2 or 3 or 5 of that. Actually, both my parents when I was a kid. But I only remember bits and pieces, so I cannot say that I have seen it because I have no recollection of it. Only
waiting for a Blu-ray release.
Yeah,
I remember it from a kid. I remember The Next Generation a little bit more because that was on syndication when I was like 10, 11, 12, something like that. Because it was hard to see Kung Fu in syndication when growing up. But I've been waiting for a Blu-ray release of it. Hopefully we get one eventually. Great fucking show though.
It's probably not as good as I remember it.
It might not be, but
as a kid, it was fantastic.
Yeah. Well, they stole the idea from Bruce Lee. I'm sure you knew that, Andre.
Yes, I know.
That I knew. Yes, I know the lore of it.
I figured you knew that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that really bothered him. Jason Webster sent in 5 Australian, says the South Korean sci-fi film Space Sweepers 2021, Alienoid 2022, and Young-E, I'm probably saying that wrong, 2023 are better than Disney Star Wars. Well, there's a lot of shit. It's better than Disney Star Wars.
There's an interesting story about the Green Hornet where Bruce Lee went into that all hyped up and angry and twisted out of shape the way he just apparently normally was. And he didn't like the way they were shooting the Green Hornet. And this was all sort of came to head along with why he didn't like Kung Fu and why he felt Kung Fu was not done properly, notwithstanding the fact that they stole his idea. And I can't remember, I think the director said, okay, direct an action sequence exactly the way that you want.
Yep.
And the director knew that he didn't know how to direct for TV.
But he still did a good job.
No, he didn't. He went
I thought he did.
No. The
director
director then showed him the rushes, and Bruce Lee went, "Oh my God, I'm completely wrong."
Because he eventually learned to be a director.
No, it's true. But that was one of the points where he learned how to be a director, by learning that he's not the king, wasn't the king of everything, and not all of his ideas would work. And he needed to learn what each medium needed at that particular time.
Right.
And he said that was a very sobering lesson to learn for him. It was a neat story.
Well, yeah, I know he had to, because part of the inspiration for Bruce Lee in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and I know this is going to set some folks off in the chat, but I'll be brief, was I know another thing on that show is he got in trouble for being too rough with the with the stuntmen. He would take out his aggression sometimes on the stuntmen. It's said. Yeah.
I got hurt during the filming of our Kung Fu Nun sketch. Rick did the rising fist above the shoulder, and I was just a bit too close over the edge. And if you watch, those of you frantic fans out there who want to see the footage of me getting hit in the face, it actually remained in the shot. Me getting like a bloody lip from Rick Kung Fuing me with a fist.
You actually took a boot to the face.
Oh, I did. I took a boot to the face.
Or boot to the head.
You're going to suffer for odds, don't you?
I do.
Yes. And then we got Ruby Hoove, who became a member. Thank you for that. ActionCom says the Kung Fu show would have been the model for the Obi-Wan show, wandering the universe strategically, sabotaging the Empire, quietly fomenting rebellion, and helping the average Joe with the Force. The only problem with this is he is supposed to have stayed in exile on Tatooine this whole time. And I don't like the idea of him, going out on these James Bond-esque type missions when he's supposed to be watching over Luke. And I don't think they'd call him what they do and treat him like they do.
Well, they changed it from Luke to Leia. I mean, Leia,
that was another problem. But I mean, if you had another Jedi like that, I wouldn't see a problem with that.
But here's something that I would have done for Rings of Power. I think one of the problems, apart from the fact that the people running it are idiots, the other thing that I would have done is subvert expectations and start it small. I would have taken like Galadriel and maybe someone else and kind of turn it into a Lord of the Rings version of Xena, warrior princess, and have them go through the countryside, show us the people that we never saw in the movies, the lesser people, not the kings with their castles on the hill and things like that. Get into small adventures with the creatures that are being created and just build it up slowly, because they were never going to be able to match the majesty and the size of the original Lord of the Rings, which is, again, that was just one of my thoughts. Just really make it small, make it a small adventure that slowly grows. Anyway,
and there's other aspects of this that this can go along with Star Trek, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, insert your fantasy sci-fi genre here. It's this incessant need to tie it to something from the past. Get away. Go find something new. That's why I kind of liked The Mandalorian more than anything, was because it had less ties to anything before, but the more they would try to tie it and box it into its little universe, that's where you get things, that's where I hate prequels. It's like if Star Wars, Star Trek, even Aliens is another one. This is kind of my problem with the more recent Alien projects that are coming out. Go into the future. Go somewhere else. What was going on at the same time outside of Middle Earth in that period, right? Let's see something elsewhere. Like you can play with that. And I don't think people would have such a problem. And a lot of people were saying those same things with Rings of Power, is like, you know, let's go see what's going on in other places beyond Middle Earth in that time period.
I completely agree. When you're dealing
Yeah.
with a war, there's 10,000 stories happening all at the same time, but only
Exactly.
a handful get reported and become seminal, right?
Right. Right. And that's where like that, what is it? Binks and what the hell's the name of that comic? It's funny, but it's like those stormtroopers on the Death Star or whatever.
Tag and Bink.
Tag and Bink. Yeah. Like
Yes,
stuff
big
like
fan of
that can
Tag
be
and Bink.
fun. And then you can also have, like you said, like more of a Western spin on it. And
Oh, you
do
mean
other
the
things.
two guys who tried out their guns and the aim was off on them?
Oh, I don't know if they were ever in the show, I think, but they're guys that worked on they're like these little comic duo.
Yeah, it's only in comics, nowhere
Okay.
else, which is a big mistake. They need to be.
There was a
rolled live.
hilarious moment in the first season of Mandalorian where they had two stormtroopers just.
I think that was inspired by them, kind of, but yeah.
Yeah, I thought, man, I could use more of that.
Or even like I loved like Troops. Right? Did you ever see that spoof?
Yeah.
Like stuff like that could be fun. Like you can explore this universe and have a lot of fun with it, and it goes for all these other universes. Yeah.
Non-creative garbage.
Chaos Sonic 1 sends in 5 and says, Tom, I sent you something for possibly Toxic Femme on X. I don't think you or others are interested in Monster High. Well, I'll pass it on to the ladies and see what they think. Thank you for the heads up, Chaos Sonic 1. Maybe there's some Monster High fans.
And we are unfortunately losing Mr. Chato.
Well, I think he said he was going to stick around till the end of the
great.
super chats here because we're almost caught up here.
Perfect.
So we got Kalekioki, who's been a member for 5 months, and in celebration, he gave away 5 memberships. Thank you for that, Kaleki. That was very generous of you.
Thank
and we got Dr. Jones in the house. You call him Dr. Jones, doll. He sends in 499 says the issue is not the lesbians, the issue is the revolution. We are dealing with Marxist. Yeah, I know.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then we got
and Harpo.
Yeah. And then Jason Webster sends in an Australian 5 and says, I highly recommend everyone watch Godzilla -1. So do I. On Netflix, let's keep it the #1 film on the streaming service. Yeah, or video on demand, whichever. And then, the best part is it's not overly priced on video on demand. So you can buy it now and then buy the disc later on when it comes out too and not feel like you got ripped off. Embrace the Apocalypse sends in 14 South African rands. It says Netflix already done with Prodigy all 20 on a day. Wow. So they had a new season and they just dumped them all on one day. Yeah. Well, that was the one with the Nickelodeon produced series, right? Prodigy was?
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah. And then Hyperguyver 2 says with $2, if you want more Tag and Bink, watch For the Empire. All right. Well, there you go, folks. Which is funny because the creator of Tag and Bink hates us.
Yeah, he does. Completely.
He fucking hates us. Yeah.
Didn't he have like some health scare or something?
I don't know, honestly.
Yeah, I think so. Anyway, we wish him well, even if he hates us.
Yeah, I haven't got no reason to dislike the guy. I mean, he just came after us one day, but
no, he's part of the cool crowd, so he has no choice but to hate us. That's fine.
But a reminder, Paulie's in the back here. I know he's got something coming up here, but he looks a lot like me today.
Yeah, he has something coming up.
Well, what's up, handsomes?
Can tell us about this, Paulie.
Oh my God, you got a shirt just like Paul.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Paulie, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry too.
Well, he just come in to plug his show, I think.
Last night.
Plug your show.
No, okay. Hey, everyone out there, all the Midnighters. Here's what we got coming up for the Midnight's Edge Espanol with Pablo and Fletcher. Sometimes
Fletcher.
Diego. Diego popped in last week. It was really cool. Tom pops in. We're gonna be going over He-Man role, the He-Man casting, Alien Romulus trailer, Eli Fanning, Predator, Giancarlo Esposito, Acolyte, Venom 3. So we're going over a lot of your favorite subjects, but also too the way we deliver it, guys, is we mix it up, right? We'll do it in English and in Spanish, literally at the same time, to where you're understanding and you're involved in the conversations. So, yeah.
All right, so this should lead you over there after the show, I imagine. And
yes, the stream has already been set up to take you straight there.
All
so
right.
if you stay here, you'll be there before you know it.
And Resist the Woke says, "Nice shirt, fellas," and I agree. And on that note, check out Paul on Call Me Chato and Pauling News. Anything coming up that you want to plug?
Yeah, today in hopefully a few hours, I'll have my review, my green light or not review of what's that show we were talking about? God damn it! If only I could remember. Acolyte.
The Activist? Yeah.
The Activist. Yes, that's right. I'll have that up. So it'll be a very interesting, different take on
What the
why
hell?
it should be greenlit or not.
What's up with that, Cable?
Hey,
What's up with that, Cable? All right, two things, Cable.
Abel Watson says with $2, happy Pride, Paul.
We support you in your time of transition, Cable. And my girlfriend bought me this shirt. So
hey, it's an amazing shirt, but you know what? Y'all are both dressed for the occasion. That's all I'm gonna say.
What the?
I'm wearing a Benny the Cab shirt. So yeah.
What does that mean? That's that. I'm sure gay dudes that wear Benny the Cab t-shirts.
No, not really. Probably.
You don't know that
they would be wearing a Jessica Rabbit shirt, probably.
There's a lot of gay nerds.
I know. I'm just kidding.
That's hilarious.
But no, you guys look great, and hopefully, looking forward to that, Paul. And there's your last couple of videos I got to check out yet that I haven't had a chance to.
You got a big, long lineup of videos that you need to get back. Paulie, always great to see you. Let's do something soon. And bye, everyone. We'll talk to you later.
Take care. And with that, Andre.
With that, everyone, be sure to check out Paulie over at the Latino Slant, who's looking an awful lot like Tom right there, going over on the Midnight Edge Espanol, but he's also of the Latino Slant. Check out Mr. Chato. Check out Cultured Casino as well, who's not here because he's out hunting Bigfoot. Don't check out the Acolyte. There's no need to, because every one of your favorite podcast hosts and YouTubers will be talking about it ad nauseum. So you should be good for entertainment. And with that, it is time for some koalas in the rain.
Koalas in the rain, koalas in the rain. No fucks given. Koalas in the rain.